If we could see God, I mean, like with our own eyes right now, just sitting in heaven, and we asked him, God, what do you think of the people of Europe? I think Jesus would weep because he cares so much for the people of Europe.
They think they have everything in their mind, it's like they want to understand God, or they kind of don't understand God or don't want God. But in their hearts, they really need Jesus, because we know that he's the only way, the only thing that can satisfy and can lead us into salvation. And then even with young people, I try to share sometimes, and it's challenging because they think church is boring. When they haven't met Jesus and his real love, they think church is just church, religion.
So what's the difference between now and 30 years ago? There's a cultural difference. So practically 30 years ago, more people came to church because it was just part of their routine. So their routine was church going on a Sunday morning. And the big change happened when the shops then were permitted to open on a Sunday morning, and then it became natural for everyone to go shopping. And then the divorce rate has got higher and higher, and so Sundays often either sport, shopping, or dads meeting their children.
The great sacred-secular divide became very prominent in Europe and has continued to be, where faith has been a thing of the church and it's been separated from life, and it keeps being separated from life. The main reason why families go to church on a Sunday is because if they want their children to get into a particular school. Now, I think that's a wonderful opportunity for churches. They get this captive audience, maybe for a different reason, but we get the chance to share the message that we have.
In the UK, we can look at the rate of decline at Sunday school. So in the year 1900, 90% of the nation's children went to Sunday school. In the year 1950, 70% of the nation's children went to Sunday school. And in 2012, it was around 3.5%. So that's a huge decrease over the last 60 or so, 70 years now. And that impact on society makes a big difference. So young people today are not growing up with an understanding of God or church or who Jesus is or any of those things. So the mission field is higher, the need is higher, whereas in other nations like India or African nations where Christianity is on the up, statistically there are a lot more Christians in those nations. In the Western world, because money is the new God, we haven't learned how to deal with that necessarily in Christian society yet. And so I think we've got to find a way around money not being the root of all evil, but actually being a blessing from God, and understanding it's not whether we have money or not have money, but it's more about what we do with what God has given us.
It's not only looking at their economical situation, but they need Jesus, they need the gospel, they need being revived, they need to love God it's their calling, and we need to come and bring this to Europe, and not only the poor places, the remote, but the places that they think they have everything, but they don't. First of all, the church needs to be revived. That's one of the main things, because we are called, the church needs to influence society.
And it's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out.
To be in missions is not as simple as it once was. It's not 5 years of training and then you go and you live in a foreign village and share, learn the language and teach them the Bible and so on and so forth. I think it's a lot more diverse and a lot bigger, because things are just becoming like so diverse in the areas that people need input.
I think there's some people that believe like Europe is like in the top sending countries and continent for missionaries, but they're really coming for like in the last few years we started seeing like a rise in the global south where like Africa and South America, the other places are sending missionaries to like the northern hemisphere.
I think the old way, when you say missions to people, I think they thought a cap, a sandbag and a tin of baked beans and you live in a mud hut in Africa. And now missions is so much more than that understanding, right? So I can be a doctor or a businessman and actually my mission field is my workplace. And that could be just as much as being a missionary. There's a new understanding that actually we're all called to an extent to be missionaries. But I think in Youth with a Mission, what we understand by missionaries is people who are not necessarily in the marketplace, but are more trying to reach different people groups full time, to love on people like that.
So I'm English and I'm here on my base with lots of Brazilians. And I love the excitement, I love the passion of the Brazilian culture to share the gospel. I love their fun. With the Africans, the declaration and the confidence and the passion as well. And it really, it provokes me as an English person. Come on you, don't be so quiet. Come on you, go and share.
I love seeing Brazilians who have been in the UK for a while go down to Cornwall, where I'm from, and before you close the car door, somebody says hello to you. And it's a bit of a shock for people because you kind of think, well, hang on, we're in the UK.
Missionaries are important in this sense, is that every culture has something of God that is different to other cultures, and then when you bring them together, you learn. The English culture, we're quite reflective. We've done a lot of theological reflection, we've done a lot of biblical reflection. So like the Koreans just taught us all how to pray, and other things too. The Americans were good at doing evangelism and sales and like, ba-da! Hey, the Brazilians have a vibrancy and a spirituality and a presupposition that God will work.
The beauty of missionaries from all over the world is that we get that mixture of cultures and lenses and ideas of who we are reflected in one another, who we are in Christ. So that's why Europe needs missionaries from worldwide.
People lost their faith here in Europe a lot, and we need to preach to those people, or people never heard of Jesus because they grew up in a society that you're not even allowed to share their faith in any public place.
Definitely are more Muslims in Europe now, and in some ways that's good because that allows us to have dialogue with them, right? And it allows us to have an openness that isn't necessarily there in another place. So being in Europe creates more dialogue for Christians and Muslims to come alongside each other and be able to have an open and honest conversation about who God is and what his nature and character is really like.
We were praying, for Muslims to come to faith. Now I've got, my church has got people coming in from Iran, from different countries who've all come to faith in the last 5 years.
We hear stories of missionaries coming out of Europe and what God has done in this continent in the past. And then we come here and we see that the church is not fully living their calling and doing what really in their full potential in what they could do.
In Europe, that some people think, well, we have the scriptures available in our language. Why do we need more missions? Why do we need more of that? But the truth is we're still in decline.
Is the rich missions history it's had, the absolutely incredible like heroes of the faith that have come out of this place, and not only like referencing them and talking about the amazing things they did, but helping people understand that it wasn't just for, you know, a few centuries ago, it's for right now. Like we can do that again.
As we saw the revivals, the revivalists that we talk about from here, and then in Germany, from Norway, we see these stories and we're like, this is in their DNA, it is in there, and then, but it's kind of got forgotten, and we're like, I really believe the heart of God is that this will be revived again, and the church starts to, I really believe too, the church starts to influence society again. We hear stories of how nations here in Europe became Christians and became like putting the Bible and the principles of God into their laws and government and became successful. I believe God's heart is to see His children coming back and experiencing all that He has for them.
And I think as church and as Christian organisations, if we learn how to love on people, then I think the world changes. And I think politics, government, all of those other things, they catch up.
We're all called to partner with God in manifesting His kingdom, and I just want to see that on a large scale and see people released to do that, and hopefully see platforms and, you know, different vehicles created to see people released in those ways.
The best evangelism strategy, I believe, it's letting people experience Jesus. I do believe that as coming from South America and specifically Brazil, where a lot is happening, like we see the church growing and the young people on fire, we just really feel like bringing that part to Europe.
So we're in this unique opportunity, in this unique place right now, whereby people can actually talk about Jesus and people are interested. We don't need to sell Jesus, we just need to be Jesus to people.